The story starts with Echo. She was a beautiful nymph who took her greatest pleasure in amusing herself in the woods and fields. She was the favorite of Artemis, the goddess of woods and wild creatures. But Echo had a serious problem. She was a loudmouth and always liked to have the last words on everything. Zeus, the god of Olympus, adored the company of the beautiful nymphs and frequently visited them on his way down to earth. One day, the goddess Hera, his wife, decided to look him up. She went to the nymph forest to catch him red-handed. Echo, upon seeing the goddess approaching, tried to cut her off to cover Zeus' escape. She flattered the goddess' beauty and talked incessantly while Zeus took the opportunity to flee. Hera, tired of the babbling nymph, ordered her to shut up and get out of her way. After she noticed that Echo tried to cover up Zeus, she punished the nymph who always loved to give the last word on everything. From that day on, her fate was to repeat the last word she heard. Echo went to wander sadly through the woods, until the day she came across the most beautiful man she had ever seen. She fell in love immediately, but she had no way to express her feelings. The man was Narcissus, one of the most handsome young men in Greece, known to disdain all the suitors. That time he was hunting with his friends, but eventually strayed from his companions in the woods. That he heard a noise coming from the bushes.
Is anyone here?
Narcissus walked up to the nymph and she, insane with passion, and tried to grab. He pushes her away and said,
Stay away from me. I will die before I give you power over me.
I give you power over me.
she hid her blushes and her shame in a lonely cave, and never could be comforted. After being snubbed by Narcissus, Echo wandered through the woods and stumbled upon a group of nymphs who had discarded by the boy. Unlike Echo, who had accepted their sorry fate, they cried out to Nemesis, the goddess of vengeance, to punish the young boy who had scorned them. The goddess heard their prayers and decided to punish Narcissus so that he could learn what it was like to be unrequited and loved. The young man strolling near the water spring and decided to stop quench his thirst. As he knelt down, he saw his reflection in the water and understood why all the women threw themselves at his feet. But he would fall in love with his own image.
Now I know what others suffered from me, for I burn with love of my own self. And yet, how can I reach that loveliness I see mirrored in the water, where I cannot live if only death can set me free?
And it's so. It happened. He pinned away, leaning perpetually over the pool, fixed in one long gaze. Echo was near him, but she could do nothing. Only when dying he called to his image. Farewell, farewell. She could repeat the last words to say goodbye to him. A beautiful flower grew where Narcissus' body has been buried. The nymphs named these flowers after Narcissus. Echo plunged into a deep sadness and chose to live secluded in a mountain cave. The nymph was totally absorbed by the mountain, but whenever Echo is called upon, she comes forward to give the last words.
Another flower that came into being through the death of a beautiful youth was the hyacinth. Again, not like the flower we call by that name, but lily-shaped and of a deep purple, or some say a splendid crimson. On one tragic day, Hyacinthus and Apollo god were having a friendly competition which is throwing a discus. While Apollo teaching Hyacinth, the discus that he had thrown bounced back, and his loving man was struck by it in forehead, that cause of the young man Hyacinth's tragic death. There is a story too that Zephyr, the west wind, not Apollo, was the direct cause of the death, that he also loved this fairest of youths, and in his jealous anger at seeing the god preferred to him, he blew upon the discus and made it strike Hyacinth. In a contest with Apollo, he was slain. Discus throwing they competed, and the god's swift cast sped beyond the goal he aimed at and struck Hyacinthus full in the forehead, a terrible wound. He had been Apollo's dearest companion. The god was horror-struck to see the blood gush forth in the lad, deadly pale, fall to the ground. He turned as pale himself as he caught him up in his arms and tried to stanch the wound, but it was too late. While he held him, the boy's head fell back as a flower does when its stem is broken. He was dead, and Apollo, kneeling beside him, wept for him, dying so young, so beautiful. He had killed him, although through no fault of his, and he cried, "Oh, if I could give my life for yours, or die with you." Even as he spoke, the blood-stained grass turned green again, and there bloomed forth the wondrous flower that was to make the lad's name known forever. Apollo himself inscribed the petals, some say with Hyacinth initial, and others with the two letters of the Greek word that means alas. Either way, a memorial of the god's great sorrow.
The last story was about the myths of Adonis' flower. Of these deaths and flower resurrections, the most famous was that of Adonis. Every year the Greek girls mourned for him, and every year they rejoiced when his flower, the blooded animal, the wind flower, was seen blooming again. Aphrodite loved him, the goddess of love, who pierces with her shafts the hearts of gods and men alike, was fated herself to suffer that same piercing pain. She saw him when she was born, and even then loved him and decided he should be hers. She carried him to Persephone to take charge of him for her. But Persephone loved him too and would not give him back to Aphrodite, not even when the goddess went down to the underworld to get him. Neither goddess would yield, and finally Zeus himself had to judge between them. He decided that Adonis should spend half the year with each, the autumn and winter with the queen of the dead, the spring and summer with the goddess of love and beauty. All the time he was with Aphrodite, she sought only to please him. He was named for the chase, and often she would leave her swan-down car, in which she was used to glide at her ease through the air, and follow him along rough woodland ways dressed like a huntress. But one sad day, she happened not to be with him, and he tracked down a mighty boar. With his hunting dogs, he brought the beast to bay. He heard his spear at it, but he only wanted it. And before he could spring away, the boar, mad with pain, rushed at him and gored him with his great thrust. Aphrodite, in her winged car, high over the earth, heard her lovers groan and flew to him. He was softly breathing his life away, the dark blood flowing down his skin of snow, and his eyes growing heavy and dim. She kissed him, but Adonis knew not that she kissed him as he died. Cruel as his wound was, the wound in her heart was deeper. She spoke to him, although she knew that he could not hear her. "You die, O thrice desired, and my desire has flown like a dream. Gone with you is a girdle of my beauty, but I myself must live who am a goddess and may not follow you. Kiss me yet once again, the last, long kiss until I draw your soul within my lips, and drink down all your love." The mountains all were calling, and the oak trees answering. Ho, wo, wo, for Adonis, he is dead. An echo cried in answer, Ho, 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 for Adonis. And all the loves wept for him, and all the muses too. But down in the black underworld Adonis could not hear them, nor see the crimson flower that sprang up where each drop of his blood had stained the earth.